Hello my friends, this is Leo Augusto React and today we're going to meet a sinister creature that will give you chills.
There have been many mysterious killers in history who were never found.
But the one I'm going to show you here today is considered an urban legend nowadays. It's unclear if it was a human or animal. However, we will go back through the story to determine what this thing is. It was first seen around 1900 in a newspaper article from that time. To this day, it's unknown whether Bunnyman really existed or if he was just an urban legend about a man or a monster from that time. Some say the creature carried a knife, but most firmly believe he carried an axe. So much so that they say if someone stands next to the Colchester Pass Bridge, now known as the Bunnyman Bridge, after midnight on a Halloween night, a bright light will appear and along with it, the figure of a humanoid rabbit monster holding the axe. That's the moment you need to be smart, man, and get out of there as fast as you can to save your life. However, it must be really hard to escape from his devastating throw. No one survives to tell that story, right? He was an insane killer who committed his crimes on Halloween night, especially after midnight. Legend has it that Bunnyman could be a former inmate of an asylum in Clifton, Virginia. A long time ago, there was an asylum for lunatics, but it wasn't very safe for the people who worked there or for the inmates themselves. There were many mysterious deaths there, and they never found the culprit. Until in the year 1904, the asylum had to be closed and they had to transfer the inmates to another place. While they were on the road, one of the bus drivers ended up losing control, and to this day, no one knows why that happened.
Many believe that he might have seen an animal that entered the road and tried to swerve, but ended up crashing head-on into a tree.
The result was that most of the inmates who were in that vehicle ended up dying, as well as the driver.
However, some were lucky enough to escape unharmed and flee into the darkness of the forest.
The police conducted a thorough search throughout the night to recover the escapees. All were recaptured except two who vanished without a trace. Their names were Marcus Walster and Douglas Griffin. While the police searched for the missing men, they found a signature in the mud deep in the forest which said the following, "You will never find me," signed
Bunnyman.
On the next day of searching, the authorities found the lifeless body of Walster, who was hanging from the Colchester Pass Bridge. The police then concluded that Bunnyman was Douglas Griffin. They continued the relentless search, but it seemed that the crazy criminal had vanished from the map. Although Bunnyman is considered an urban legend nowadays, it's not impossible that there was a bloodthirsty and insane killer, dressed in a rabbit costume. Especially appearing on Halloween nights, a day that's perfect for running into people in costumes, right? Bunnyman has left several victims over the decades, and what's even more mysterious is that no one has ever managed to see him face to face, since everyone who confronted him ended up dead. The people who survived were police officers, friends of the victims, or people who happened to be passing by the area. There was a Halloween night in 1905 when a group of young people was crossing the bridge. Unfortunately, 3 of them were found dead the next day with their throats and abdomens ripped open. Their deaths were so brutal that the community was shocked by it. After this incident, parents kept their children away from that place. Much less at night, right, man? No way, you wouldn't go through there after something like that happened. It's natural for parents to fear for their children's lives and do everything to protect them, isn't it? However, these weren't the only cases. There were people who ignored the warning signs and insisted on going through there, like Paul did. He was a young man who was with a group of friends. He reported that when approaching the bridge, he kept a certain distance because he had already heard the story about the place. And that there was a crazy killer supposedly living around there, right? His friends thought it was nonsense and weren't afraid.
However, as they passed under the bridge, he witnessed a bright light that temporarily blinded him and only heard the agonizing screams of his friends. When the light went out and his vision returned to normal, he saw the lifeless bodies lying on the ground. Like the case with the young people last Halloween, he became the main suspect because to the authorities, he was the only one alive at the scene. He tried to explain what happened, but ended up being taken to a psychiatric hospital. They considered the guy crazy. And it didn't stop there. Cases like this happened over the years until 1975. In all of them, it was the same: axe attacks followed by death. The police never found the culprit, because whenever they were about to catch him, he would mysteriously disappear like magic. Fortunately, after 1975, there were no more reports of deaths or disappearances involving Bunnyman. It is not known whether someone managed to put an end to him or if he is simply lurking, waiting for an opportunity to strike again. Sightings of Bunnyman are rare, as no one who has faced the killer has survived to tell the tale. The only survivors were friends of the victims or people who happened to be passing by the area randomly. Even so, they couldn't see the creature clearly because of that strong light. They only saw the silhouette of that giant rabbit throwing his axe. It's not exactly known why this bright light is emitted by him, whether it's from his eyes or if he's carrying a strong flashlight. The fact is that he can temporarily blind his victims, creating a perfect opportunity for his evil actions. Bunnyman has a bloody and extensive history, and it's not limited to just one place or one bridge. He can appear in any region of the human world during Halloween. It could be that he never stopped attacking people. It's just not being recorded, right? So my friends, be careful. It could be that Bunnyman is waiting for the perfect opportunity to attack his next victim. Before anything else, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of Sete Além? Sete Além? It would be a parallel universe, an alternative reality, where supposedly all of us could reach it.
But we don't know when or how that will happen.
Imagine you get on a bus, and when you realize it, that same bus isn't taking the usual route and is taking you to a place you don't know. But cold and dark another universe. You would have simply left your world and entered another reality. It may sound crazy, but that's what we're going to talk about today. We don't really know what Sete Além is like. The information we have is just characteristics stored in some stories found here on the internet. Basically, Sete Além would be something similar to our reality, only darker. The stories say that the place is dirty, dark, and the people there have deeper, darker eyes. They look more like the living dead than anything else. We don't have much information, but it's clearly not a beautiful place. And you wouldn't like to go there. I'm sure about that, guys. The first reports that we know of appeared a long time ago, back when the social network Orkut was very popular here in Brazil. There was a community there called Sete Além, and it was created by Luciano. In the 90s, he went through a really bizarre experience that for him was proof that the supernatural exists. And then, as the years went by, 10 years later, he decided to create this community to share his story and see if more people had gone through the same experience. In Luciano's account, he was coming back from college and needed to catch the bus to go home. He could take any bus that stopped at that point, since they all passed by his house, so he just took any bus. Without even looking at the sign, he signaled and got on the bus, sitting next to someone. He used his time well by taking out a book to read. After a few minutes, Luciano noticed that the bus was taking a long time to reach his destination. And that's when the person next to him nudged him and asked, Aren't you going to Sete Além?
Are you going to Sete Além? What's that? What are you talking about, ma'am?
The old lady spoke to him again. If your destiny isn't Sete Além, you'd better get off now. He smiled, a bit confused, looked around, and saw that everyone was staring at him.
I'm here today. I need to leave before reaching Sete Além.
Not only did everyone look at him, but they also started shouting, "Get off, damn it! Get off, get off! Hurry up, you bastard! Get out of here!" Until the driver and the fare collector started yelling and telling him to get off immediately. That's when Luciano didn't understand anything and got off the bus. Even so, right? He ended up finding all of that very strange. He had never gone through that before. So he just got off at any stop really just to get away from those weird people. When the bus drove away, he saw it taking a different route than it should have, and it disappeared. One of the stories that really caught people's attention was from a woman named Antonia, who supposedly lost her daughter in Sete Além. It was a normal day. Antonia was at home when suddenly the phone started ringing. When she answered the call, she heard a man say that she needed to pick up her daughter. On a staircase in a condominium, she asked, "Staircase? What are you talking about?"
My daughter is home. What is he talking about?
It's a prank call, ma'am. She wasn't wearing a green shirt when she disappeared. If you want to pick her up, just come here to the condominium staircase. The woman started yelling at the guy on the phone saying, "What kind of crazy story is this? My daughter is here with me." Antonia thought it was some kind of prank and said she was going to call the police, and at that moment the call dropped. The next day, Antonia's daughter went for a walk with her father in the neighborhood park. And when she came back after some time, she was very scared and was wearing a green shirt. The girl who was scared said she got lost in a building while she was walking with her father.
Not knowing where she was, she began to cry and scream.
Until a man with dark eyes appeared and offered help. He said she was in Sete Além. Antonia thought her daughter was imagining things, but the girl swore to her mother that she was telling the truth. She even said that this man with dark eyes called her, warning that she would be lost in that place on a staircase in a condominium. And all of this would have happened in just a few hours here in this world, in our reality. Because according to the girl, she would have stayed in Sete Além for 7 long days.
My God.
And to get out of there, this man would have taken the girl to a staircase which she climbed and then found her father again. That's when her mother remembered the phone call from the day before and went into shock. Imagine being in a situation like that, just reading a book on your way home. Then a weird old lady comes up to you and tells you to get off the bus, telling you that your stop is in Sete Além and you need to get off. At that exact moment, oh man, and on top of that, everyone on the bus starts yelling at you, telling you to get out of there, man. That's crazy, dude. That's so bizarre, man. I would have totally freaked out and gotten really suspicious about it, you know? That was basically Luciano's story about Sete Além, this bizarre parallel world. After that day, 10 years later, he decided to create this community. On the now defunct Orkut, you could find other stories from people who also claim to have known this place. The guy's idea actually worked. Soon, several stories appeared in his community about Sete Além. This happened, that happened, and each was stranger than the last. The next story happened to a man named Julio. He was at a mall in his city. When he suddenly needed to go to the bathroom, Julio noticed that the lights flickered and then came back on. It was a matter of seconds. He washed his hands, and when he left the bathroom, he was no longer there. In our reality, it seemed like he was in a completely different mall. According to him, the people were quite similar, but scary at the same time. Beside that, The stores weren't normal. They sold strange things like hooks, horseshoe, and even animals he had never seen before.
Julio managed to look at the face of a little girl who was passing by.
She seemed normal, but when he focused, he saw that she had black eyes and an evil expression.
Julio didn't like that at all.
He ran back to the bathroom, grabbed his cell phone, and tried to call his family. But his cell phone wasn't working. There was no signal. Unable to contact anyone, he left the bathroom again. Fortunately, everything was back to normal. To this day, nothing proves or justifies Sete Alem's parallel world. The information we have is just stories told on the internet. Analyzing the information that has come up over the years, Sete Além would be a parallel universe, and the portals to this bizarre place would be scattered throughout our world. To enter, you would just need to find these portals. But that's the problem. There's no way to identify them. So what we can conclude is that you'll only get to Sete Além by mistake or by some kind of chance. You know what I mean, my man. But do you believe there could be portals to other dimensions? Or do you think this story is just meant to scare people? A lot of people still believe in those stories to this day, folks, and they're even afraid to open doors or get on a bus. So that's it, guys. Don't forget to like this video because that way you'll be protected from any hauntings for 7 days. Okay, so that's it. I'll stop here and goodbye.